This is Julia with iCadenza, and I'm sitting here with Omega Medina, who was the former senior manager of the Classical Music Awards for the Grammys, and also has done so many incredible things related to music throughout your life, and it's so wonderful to be here with you.
Well, thank you, Julia, for having me. You know, I studied music at a very young age. I went to the High School of Music and Art in New York City, and that's when I really got the bug to pursue it full time. And from then on, it's just been studying and practicing and studying and practicing. You never stop.
That's so wonderful. And you've done so many things, so many other things related to music. You mentioned that you were involved with the Classical Luncheon. Can you talk a little bit about that as well?
Yes, while at the Grammy Awards, I was responsible for making sure that the CDs that were entered in the classical genre met our eligibility requirements. But in addition to that, I also planned, organized, and produced a luncheon where we honored and paid tribute to an outstanding classical musician. So that was thrilling because I got a chance to talk to some of the legendary musicians in the classical field. And they were very amenable and friendly and had so much wisdom to impart. And our audiences at the luncheons, we had up to like 600 guests here in Los Angeles and in New York. They just never wanted the luncheons to end. But at that luncheon, we also showcased young musicians who were performing and pursuing a career in classical music. So it served two purposes: to honor a legend and to give a performing format or showcase to someone who was pursuing a career.
That's so wonderful. Well, you have so much experience in the industry. What would you recommend to a young singer who's starting out? What were some of the best things that you did when you were still pursuing your career, or things that you've seen others do?
I think the most important thing is to have a good teacher and to be willing to listen to the teacher. Sometimes when you're blessed with a talent, you think you know it all, especially if you've been singing before family and friends, before you started your formal training. You come before a teacher who has to strip away some of the bad habits that you acquired when you were performing for family and friends who thought you were wonderful. So you have to be willing to be a sponge to learn, but you have to have a fine teacher. And you start with building your technique. If you don't have that foundation, I don't care how good a voice you have, you won't survive, because the human voice is both strong and fragile. But without the proper technique, you don't have a good foundation on which you can build skill and then artistic expression. So my first advice would be to find a good teacher. Then you also need a coach. A coach is a little different from a teacher. A coach will focus on style and tradition, and how certain music from a particular period should be sung, because we do have traditions, in classical music. And a coach also will work on diction. The spoken word is not the same as the sung word, so you have languages that you have to study. Also today, we have so many options for performing. You have to make sure you don't overperform and that you don't sing the wrong repertoire. At different stages of your life, you need to sing what is appropriate for your development. And sometimes, and I made this mistake, I mean, we all do, when you're 20 years old and you have a high C that you can just sing and drop it like that, you just want to do that all the time. But you have to learn how to sing the more simple songs that will build your voice beautifully and in a healthful way.
Such wonderful advice. And now you have a company helping people use online media, especially video, to promote their products. Can you talk a little bit about how you think that affects artists and how they can use online media to improve their online presence and their careers?
One thing I have learned, that you must stay current with the changing trends in how you market yourself, how you promote yourself, how you perform. And I think it's important that you use the technology of the day. I use video, email, or streaming video, I should say, and live broadcast to show others some technical aspects of vocal production. I also show others how to phrase a particular, piece and how to mark a piece. And I also talk about the importance of knowing other arts like drama, theater. It's important. The fine arts, poetry, literature. They're all important because when you sing, you have to be able to use your imagination because you can't touch or feel your instrument. It's internal. So what do? You can't just stare at the audience and be blank. You have to be in a mindset that's full of art and beauty. I also use the internet to communicate with other students, and you can do so with a teacher or a coach. You don't have to be in the same country. You can send a video of a performance or of a practice session, and your coach in Italy or France can say, you're making too many superficial gestures in your face. There's too much tension here. You're not aware of that. But if your teacher in France or Italy or New York or Bakersfield sees it, that makes a difference. So you can use the technology in many ways. Of course, you can also use it. You can give a recital. It doesn't have to be a full-length recital of an hour. It could be a 12-minute recital. And that's a tease for something that you're going to do later on. You can use that using streaming video. Put that on YouTube. Why not?
There's so much that can be done.
Oh, absolutely. And we just have to be willing to get out of that elitist environment and just not compromise our values, not compromise our artistic values, but to use the technology to enhance what we already have and to share it with the world. Just think, you can create a video and share it with the entire world. That's amazing.
It is amazing. Now, what do you think about what we've been doing with iCadenza and our goals in bringing all of the performing arts together and all performing artists and giving them a platform to use online media, to give them a voice that they can share?
Well, I think you just echo what I said and I admire you for taking the initiative to pursue this and to use the technology. I think you're going about it the right way. There was a time when, I think it's the fault of the classical world, when they just thought that it would be a sellout if they did anything that was outside of what they call the traditional norm of singing or performing in a concert hall or in a salon. Now, what you have done with iCadenza is to open up the whole arena for the world to be able to see what people who are studying and performing classical music on various levels can do. Use this technology to your advantage. I mean, it's a wonderful way to introduce people to you, to acquire new audiences. It's a wonderful way to get a fan club, to get a following, and it's also a wonderful way to educate, to expose people to repertoire that they haven't heard before. And when they see it through this medium, like the internet, they are not intimidated by that. Whereas to tell someone, oh, you've got to come to the concert hall, they might be a little reluctant in the beginning. But if they see it on the internet, they'll say, well, gee, I'm going to buy that ticket. I'm going to the concert hall. I want to hear it there. So I think it's a wonderful way that you are working with it. And I want to thank you, by the way, to offer this kind of platform for performers. And don't stop. Don't get discouraged.
Well,
just keep going. Congratulations for having the vision and putting action behind that vision.
Thank you so much. Now, I wanted to also ask you about Carter Larson's music, which you've been so supportive of.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about how you encountered him and his music and what you think?
Well, I met him through a mutual friend. Her name is Rhoda Laurie, and she said, Omega, I just heard this wonderful composer, pianist. She said, I don't know what kind of music it is, but you've got to hear it. So I called him, and I went to his studio. And when I heard it, I understood what she meant. It's interesting. He is a brilliant pianist, a fabulous composer, He has the technical prowess of a virtuosic performer, but he makes the music so accessible because it sounds familiar. It sounds inviting. It's very engaging. It's not simplistic, but it has that combination of traditional romantic flair and style, and it's brought into that contemporary idiom. It's the fusion of old and new. It's the fusion of classical and contemporary, and I just enjoy listening to it. You can be entertained and find it enlightening.
Thank you so much for your time, and we so appreciate all of your wonderful feedback.
Well, I thank you for inviting me, and again, congratulations on your iCadenza company. All
Thank
the
you
best
very
to you.
much. Thank you.
You're welcome.